Hello there, Grumpy Old Fart here. Um, for those of you who don't play Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and don't do tabletop role playing, one of the fun things in games like this, fantasy, science fiction, sword and sorcery fantasy like Conan and all that, you got to have monsters to fight. You got to have monsters, and they got to be good monsters. You can't just fight the same thing over and over and over. Dragons are cool, but if you face them every week, after a while it gets boring. You want to do some variety, right? In 1977 or 78, TSR, who was the ones putting out Dungeons and Dragons at the time, they put out a compendium of monsters named the Monster Manual. And the idea being that dungeon masters needed source material for monsters and critters to throw against their players. And that's always a good thing. Variety is the spice of life. One of the most powerful and least used monsters in that book is the Rakshasa. The Rakshasa is a dynamo. It's a powerhouse. It's a nasty, nasty critter. This thing can do physical damage. It has illusions. It's got magic. And it has a unique ability called ESP that has a very horrific effect. Excuse me. The Rakshasa is tough. It has high hit dice, 7 hit dice, which you roll a d8 for hit points for a monster, and this he has 7 of them. So he can have up to 56 hit points, which is pretty nasty for a monster. A 7 hit die critter. He has pretty good armor class. An armor class of -4, which is anything below 0 is good. Is really good. His is -4. He gets 3 attacks per round, which is nasty. He is a master of illusion. He creates illusions, and he has an ESP ability, so he can reach into somebody's mind and find somebody that they trust, and then he can cast the illusion of that person on himself, so he appears to be that person. And so he can get close, and once he gets close, and catch him unawares, and then, kind of thing. Rakshasas are carnivorous, and they're fond of human flesh. They like to eat people. So yeah, they're doing it. They're nasty. They're Hindu creatures. They're very nasty. And plus they have magic. They cast magic up to 3rd level magic users and 1st level clerical spells. They are immune to all magic spells under the 8th level, so you have to be at least 8th level to affect them. They're immune to non-magic weapons, and magic weapons below +3 only do half damage. So you could have the biggest sledgehammer in the world beating on them. If it's not magical, it's not going to hurt them. If you take that same sledgehammer and make it a +2 weapon, you can hit them to do damage, but it's only half damage. They can soak a lot of freaking damage. In a town or a village, these things can be devastating because everybody in that town knows each other and they trust somebody. So it's very few people that trust nobody. So a Rakshasa can be very devastating inside a town. I personally never run a Rakshasa against players because, in my opinion, they're too insidious and too powerful. I tried it once years ago and killed off the entire party. I tried it a second time with a different party a few years later and killed off the entire party. These were high level characters too. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. This, in my opinion, the Rakshasa can be very, very devastating, and if you run it properly, if I had those abilities and was hungry and wanted to eat human flesh, and if I was one of these monsters, I could hide out and live forever on killing people and eating them, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. They're that devastating. They're very difficult to kill. In order to kill them, you have to have a crossbow bolt blessed by a cleric. So it's not like you just shoot them with an arrow and they die. It has to be a specific type of crossbow bolt blessed by a cleric. and not very many people have those. It's not like they, people go around, oh, here, bless these arrows, I never run them because they're too insidious, too powerful. Years ago, I was playing in my friend Donald's game. Donald ran an excellent game. He we had, I want to say, 6, 7, 8. I think there was 9 of us playing, and it was experienced players. I want to say we were 6th to 8th level characters, but the players were all experienced. We were in a little village, and we had to stay there because we were healing up after a battle, and we had to buy gear and stuff, and a convoy of merchants was coming through town, so we were waiting on them to get better stuff, So we were just waiting there in the village for them, and between missions, as it were. And there was a Rakshasa in the village, and we all died. Everybody in the group died, including me, because I saw what I thought was the local barmaid, who I was kind of having a fling with, and she came over, everything was good, we headed back to her place, and that's the last thing anybody ever saw of me. I died. Yeah, old libido got the better of me. But that's the problem with a Rakshasa. It can appear as anybody that you trust. Well, guess what? Trusting people with a Rakshasa will get you killed. It's just the way it is. I did a TV series review, and it was quite popular on my videos. You can check it out. Of Kolchak the Night Stalker. One of his episodes, there was a Rakshasa in it, and there was an old lady that worked with him at the newspaper, and the Rakshasa posed as the old lady, and he had to kill the old lady. It was kind of freaky, but that's the thing. It appears as who you trust, and it can get close to you. And if you're not thinking about it, the illusions can be quite convincing, and so they can be devastating. Not for the fact that they're exorbitantly. They don't do a whole bunch of damage. They don't do a whole bunch of magic, but they can appear as somebody you trust, get close to you, and when you're not expecting it. And if you're asleep, all it needs to do is not fumble, and you die. A fumble is when you roll a 1 on a 20-sided die, so it's got a 5% chance. Everybody has a 5% chance to fumble. If somebody's asleep and prone like that, they get significant bonuses. Well, if they're prone, they get bonuses. If they're asleep, yeah, it's unconscious or whatever, all they have to do is not fumble, and it's like an automatic death. Well, that's what this thing did, and I died, and it ate me. The sad part is you can't even resurrect that because you're being digested. One by one, the party started disappearing, and by the time they figured out what was going on, it was way too late. Killed off the entire party. Rakshasas are extremely, extremely devastating, especially in a rural environment where there's people, where they're like a village or something like that. A big city, it's questionable depending on if it can find a place to hide, but in a small village where there's places it can hide, like out in the woods or whatever, little caves or whatever, and come in at night, yeah, it's almost unstoppable. It's ridiculous. If the dungeon master does it properly, he can really run it to where this Rakshasa is, nobody even knows it's there until it's too late, and that's what Donald did, and Donald killed off the entire group that way. And it was our own stupidity, because we should have known better. We should have known something was up, but oh well, we was clueless and helpless. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all.